Welcome to RLP Audiobooks channel, the channel that brings forgotten books back to life in audio format, so you can listen to whenever and wherever you desire, whether you're driving, chilling, and even sleeping. Please consider subscribing to the channel and click the notifications button so you don't miss out on any other videos. Now, relax, listen, ponder, and enjoy.
Surah 27. A nominal. Context. Period of revelation. The subject matter and the style bear full resemblance with the surahs of the Middle Meccan period, and this is supported by various hadith as well. The theme and topics. The surah consists of two discourses, the first from the beginning of the surah to the end of verse 58, and the second from verse 59 to the end. The theme of the first discourse is that the people who benefit from the guidance of the Quran and its blessings are those who accept the realities which it presents. They are then obedient and submissive to God's guidance, by following it in their practical lives. One of the greatest hindrances for man is the denial of the hereafter. For it makes him irresponsible, selfish, and eager for the worldly life, which in turn makes it impossible for him to submit himself before God, and to accept the moral restrictions on his lusts and desires. After this introduction, historic figures are presented signifying three types of characters. Number 1. The first type is characterized by Pharaoh, the chiefs of Thamud, and the rebels of the people of Lot, who were all heedless of the accountability of the hereafter, and had consequently become slaves to the world and their desires. These people did not believe, even after the miracles were presented to them. Rather, they turned against those who invited them to goodness and piety, and persisted in their evil ways. They did not heed the admonition, right up to the moment before they were overtaken by God's punishment. Number 2. The second type of character is that of the Prophet Solomon, who had been blessed by God with wealth, kingdom, and grandeur to an extent undreamt of, since he regarded himself as answerable before God, and knew that whatever he had was only due to God's bounty. He was obedient to God, and there was no tinge of pride or arrogance in his character. Number 3. The third type is that of the Queen of Sheba, who ruled over a wealthy and famously known nation in the history of Arabia. She possessed all those means of life, which could cause a person to become vain and conceited. Her wealth and possessions far exceeded the wealth and possessions of many tribes of the past and future, including the Quraysh. She was born into a culture of polytheism, shirk, which was not only an ancestral way of life with her, but she had to follow it, in order to maintain her position as a ruler. Therefore, it was extremely difficult for her to give it up, and adopt monotheism, Tawheed, especially when compared to the more common polytheist. However, when the truth was made known to her, nothing could stop her from accepting it. Her past ignorance was in fact due to her being born and brought up in a polytheistic environment, and not because of her being a slave to her lusts and desires. Her conscience was not devoid of the sense of accountability before God. In the second discourse, from the outset, attention has been drawn to some of the most glaring and visible realities of the universe. The disbelievers of Mecca are asked one question after the other, questioning them about whether these realities testified to the creed of polytheism, shirk, or to the truth of monotheism, Tawheed, to which the Quran invites. In conclusion, the real invitation of the Quran, that is, the invitation to serve one God alone, has been presented in a concise but forceful manner, and the people are informed that accepting it would be to their own advantage, and rejecting it to their own disadvantage. For if they deferred faith until they saw the signs of God, the major signs foretold before the coming of the last day, they would be left with no choice but to believe and submit. In fact, they should bear in mind that this would be the time of judgment, and believing then would be of no avail. Surah 27. A nominal. The ants. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Ta. Seen.
These are among the 14 opening letters, which occur in various combinations at the beginning of 29 surahs in the Quran. Although there has been much speculation as to their meaning, it was not in fact revealed by God to anyone, and is known only to Him.
These are the verses of the Quran.
Recitation.
And a clear book as guidance, and good tidings for the believers, who establish prayer and give zakat, and of the hereafter, they are certain in faith. Indeed, for those who do not believe in the hereafter, we have made pleasing to them their deeds, so they wander blindly. Those are the ones for whom there will be the worst of punishment, and in the hereafter, they are the greatest losers. And indeed, O Muhammad, you received the Quran from one wise and knowing. Mention when Moses said to his family, "Indeed I have perceived a fire. I will bring you from their information, or will bring you a burning torch, that you may warm yourselves." But when he came to it, he was called, "Blessed is whoever is at the fire, and whoever is around it. And exalted is God, Lord of the worlds. O Moses, indeed it is I,
God,
the exalted in might, the wise." And he was told, "Throw down your staff." But when he saw it writhing as if it were a snake, he turned in flight, and did not return.
Or, did not look back.
God said, "O Moses, fear not. Indeed in my presence, the messengers do not fear. Otherwise, he, who wrongs, then substitutes good after evil. Indeed I am forgiving, and merciful." And put your hand into the opening of your garment. At the breast, it will come out white without disease. These are among the 9 signs you will take to Pharaoh, and his people. Indeed they have been a people defiantly disobedient. But when there came to them our visible signs, they said, "This is obvious magic." And they rejected them, while their inner selves were convinced thereof, out of injustice and haughtiness. So see how was the end of the corruptors. And we had certainly given to David and Solomon knowledge, and they said, "Praise is due to God, who has favored us over many of his believing servants." And Solomon inherited David. He said, "O people, we have been taught the language of birds, and we have been given from all things. Indeed this is evident bounty." And gathered for Solomon were his soldiers of the jinn, and men, and birds, and they were marching in rows, until, when they came upon the valley of the ants, an ant said, "O ants, enter your dwellings that you not be crushed by Solomon and his soldiers, while they perceive not." So Solomon smiled, amused at her speech, and said, "My lord, enable me."
More literally, gather within me the utmost strength and ability
to be grateful for your favor, which you have bestowed upon me, and upon my parents, and to do righteousness of which you approve. And admit me by your mercy, into the ranks of your righteous servants.
Or, with your righteous servants into paradise.
And he took attendance of the birds, and said, "Why do I not see the hoopoe, or is he among the absent? I will surely punish him with a severe punishment, or slaughter him, unless he brings me clear authorization." But he, the hoopoe, stayed not long, and said, "I have encompassed in knowledge that which you have not encompassed. And I have come to you from Sheba, with certain news. Indeed I found there a woman ruling them, and she has been given of all things, and she has a great throne. I found her and her people, prostrating to the sun, instead of God, and Satan has made their deeds pleasing to them, and prevented them from his way, so they are not guided, and so they do not prostrate to God, who brings forth what is hidden within the heavens and the earth, and knows what you conceal, and what you declare. God, there is no deity except him, Lord of the great throne." Solomon said, "We will see whether you are truthful, or were of the liars. Take this letter of mine, and deliver it to them. Then leave them, and see what answer they will return." She said, "O eminent ones, indeed to me has been delivered a noble letter. Indeed it is from Solomon, and indeed it is."
Reads,
"In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful." Be not haughty with me, but come to me in submission, as Muslims." She said, "O eminent ones, advise me in my affair. I would not decide a matter until you witness for me."
Meaning, are present with me or testify in my favor.
They said, "We are men of strength and of great military might. But the command is yours, so see what you will command." She said, "Indeed, kings when they enter a city, they ruin it, and render the honored of its people humbled. And thus do they do. But indeed I will send to them a gift, and see with what reply the messengers will return." So, when they came to Solomon, he said, "Do you provide me with wealth? But what God has given me, is better than what he has given you. Rather, it is you who rejoice in your gift. Return to them, for we will surely come to them with soldiers, that they will be powerless to encounter, and we will surely expel them therefrom, in humiliation, and they will be debased." Solomon said, "O assembly of jinn, which of you will bring me her throne, before they come to me in submission?" A powerful one from among the jinn said, "I will bring it to you before you rise from your place, and indeed I am for this task, strong and trustworthy." Said one who had knowledge from the book, "I will bring it to you before your glance returns to you." And when Solomon saw it placed before him, he said, "This is from the favor of my Lord, to test me, whether I will be grateful, or ungrateful. And whoever is grateful, his gratitude is only for the benefit of himself. And whoever is ungrateful, then indeed my Lord is free of need, and generous." He said, "Disguise for her throne, we will see whether she will be guided to truth, or will be of those who is not guided." So when she arrived, it was said to her, "Is your throne like this?" She said, "It is as though it was it." Solomon said, "And we were given knowledge before her, and we have been Muslims in submission to God. And that which she was worshipping other than God, had prevented her from submission to him. Indeed she was from a disbelieving people. She was told, 'Enter the palace.' But when she saw it, she thought it was a body of water.
The floor was transparent, and beneath it was flowing water.
And uncovered her shins, to wade through. He said, 'Indeed it is a palace whose floor is made smooth with glass.' She said, 'My lord, indeed I have wronged myself, and I submit with Solomon to God, Lord of the worlds.' And we had certainly sent to Thamud, their brother Salih, saying, 'Worship God,' and at once they were two parties conflicting. He said, 'O my people, why do you seek to hasten the evil before, instead of the good?'
By challenging Salih to bring on the promised punishment, rather than asking for mercy from God.
'Why do you not seek forgiveness of God, that you may receive mercy?' They said, 'We consider you a bad omen, you and those with you.' He said, 'Your omen,
fate,
is with God. Rather, you are a people being tested.'
Or, being tempted by Satan.
And there were in the city 9 family heads, causing corruption in the land, and not amending its affairs. They said, 'Take a mutual oath, by God that we will kill him by night, he and his family. Then we will say to his executor,'
meaning, the one responsible for executing his will, and avenging his blood,
'We did not witness the destruction of his family, and indeed we are truthful.' And they planned a plan, and we planned a plan, while they perceived not. Then look how was the outcome of their plan, that we destroyed them and their people, all. So those are their houses.
Desolate.
Because of the wrong they had done. Indeed, and that is a sign for people who know. And we saved those who believed and used to fear God. And mention Lot. When he said to his people, 'Do you commit immorality,
homosexual acts,
while you are seeing?'
Meaning, openly. Another meaning is, while you are aware that it is wrong.
'Do you indeed approach men with desire, instead of women? Rather, you are an ignorant people.' But the answer of his people was not, except that they said, 'Expel the family of Lot from your city. Indeed they are people who keep themselves pure.' So we saved him and his family, except for his wife. We destined her to be of those who remain behind. And we rained upon them a rain of stones, and evil was the rain of those who were warned. Say, O Muhammad, praise be to God, and peace upon his servants, whom he has chosen. Is God better, or what they associate with him? More precisely, is he not best who created the heavens and the earth, and sent down for you rain from the sky, causing to grow thereby gardens of joyful beauty, which you could not otherwise have grown?
The trees
Thereof? Is there a deity with God?
3 meanings are implied. Is there another God who did all of this with God? Or, is there any deity to be worshipped along with God? Or, is there a deity to be compared with God?
No, but they are a people who ascribe equals to him. Is he not best, who made the earth a stable ground, and placed within it rivers, and made for it firmly set mountains, and placed between the 2 seas a barrier? Is there a deity with God? No, but most of them do not know. Is he not best who responds to the desperate one, when he calls upon him and removes evil, and makes you inheritors of the earth?
Generation after generation.
Is there a deity with God? Little do you remember. Is he not best, who guides you through the darknesses of the land and sea, and who sends the winds as good tidings, before his mercy? Is there a deity with God? High is God above whatever they associate with him. Is he not best, who begins creation and then repeats it, and who provides for you from the heaven and earth? Is there a deity with God? Say, produce your proof, if you should be truthful. Say, none in the heavens and the earth knows the unseen except God, and they do not perceive when they will be resurrected. Rather, their knowledge fails consecutively, in comprehending the hereafter. Rather, they are in doubt about it. Rather they are
concerning it
blind. And those who disbelieve say, when we have become dust as well as our forefathers, will we indeed be brought out of the graves? We have been promised this, we and our forefathers before. This is not but legends of the former peoples. Say, O Muhammad, proceed.
Travel
Through the land, and observe how was the end of the criminals. And grieve not over them, or be in distress from what they conspire. And they say, when is the fulfillment of this promise, if you should be truthful? Say, perhaps it is close behind you.
Very near.
Some of that for which you seek to hasten. And indeed your Lord is full of bounty for the people, but most of them do not show gratitude. And indeed your Lord knows what their breasts conceal, and what they declare. And there is nothing concealed.
Literally, absent from the senses.
Within the heaven and the earth, except that it is in a clear register.
The preserved slate, Allah al-Mahfuz, which is with God.
Indeed this Quran relates to the children of Israel, most of that over which they disagree. And indeed it is guidance, and mercy for the believers. Indeed your Lord will judge between them, by his wise judgment. And he is the exalted in might, the knowing. So rely upon God, indeed you are upon the clear truth. Indeed you will not make the dead hear, nor will you make the deaf hear.
The call.
When they have turned their backs retreating. And you cannot guide the blind out of their error. You cannot make anyone hear you, except those who believe in our signs, and are the Muslims.
Those who submit.
And when the word,
decree,
befalls them, we will bring forth for them a creature from the earth speaking to them, saying that the people were
of our verses
not certain in faith. And warn of the day when we will gather from every nation a company of those who deny our signs, and they will be driven in rows, until, when they arrive at the place of judgment, he will say, did you deny my signs, while you did not encompass them in knowledge, or what was it that you were doing?
At the approach of the hour.
And the decree will befall them.
God's decree will come into effect upon them, and his promise will be fulfilled.
For the wrong they did, and they will not be able to speak. Do they not see, that we made the night, that they may rest therein, and the day giving sight? Indeed, and that are signs for a people who believe. And warn of the day the horn will be blown, and whoever is in the heavens, and whoever is on the earth, will be terrified, except whom God wills. And all will come to him humbled. And you see the mountains, thinking them rigid, while they will pass, as the passing of clouds. It is the work of God, who perfected all things. Indeed he is acquainted with that which you do. Whoever comes at judgment, with a good deed, will have better than it. And they, from the terror of that day, will be safe. And whoever comes with an evil deed,
without having repented, it may refer generally to any sin, or more specifically to association of another with God.
Their faces will be overturned into the fire, and it will be said, "Are you recompensed except for what you used to do?" Say, O Muhammad, I have only been commanded to worship the Lord of this city,
or region, meaning Mecca and its surroundings,
who made it sacred, and to whom belongs all things. And I am commanded to be of the Muslims, those who submit to God, and to recite the Quran. And whoever is guided, is only guided for the benefit of himself. And whoever strays, say, I am only one of the warners. And say, all praise be to God. He will show you his signs, and you will recognize them. And your Lord is not unaware of what you do.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed listening to this book, please give it a like, and consider subscribing to the channel, and click the notifications button, so you don't miss out on any other videos.